2026 can be the year you dominate. 2026 can be the year you break them cycles. Don't let it be like 2025. Don't let it be like 2024. Really do it this time. You need a plan to get to your goals, because without a plan, you must be planning to fail. I'm about to give you something so powerful today. I'm talking about the same thing that took me from being a minimum wage earner, $7.25, $8 back in the day, to being in the top 10% of individual earners in America. And this same formula that you about to get for the free 99 today is about to take me to the top 1%. Now, who want to join me on that ride, right? Now, if you haven't did this yet, like and subscribe to the channel. We about to get right into it. Now, the first thing you want to do, and by the way, you want to do this every month. You don't need a financial advisor, financial planner to get your stuff in order. All you need is this formula right here. Now, you want to draw you a box, split that box in half, and at the top, you want to put income, which is going to write IE, and then we're going to write expenses, right? Now, the problem with most people is that they spend too much of their income on the expenses. So we got to solve this problem, right? We got to solve this problem first. Because if you make $1,000, but your expenses is $1,000, then it's canceled out. You lose already right there, right? So we got to fix this problem first, right? And it needs to be this special word that's going to apply to everything. It's called, let's erase this real quick. And it's going to be this word right here. Allocation, right? Allocation. Now, I figured this out a long time ago. Is that being wealthy and having wealth is about how much money can you keep? And most people say, save? No. I mean, how much money can you keep to invest? So I started off with this. I need to keep 50% of my income to invest, and the other 50% can pay my expenses. So everybody like, how do you stay in California and you got 7 kids and your rent almost $5,000? Well, I'm about to show you, because I don't pay it. Right. So now let's go to our box again, right? Now, income, expenses. You need to do this every month. Write down your income. Let's say you make $3,000, right? A month. You do this every month. This is after taxes, by the way. Taxes is expense. So if you want to do before taxes, you got to write that tax and expense. I like to take mine's already out the picture. So now write your expenses. Let's say you, I don't know, you should be like 1,500, but we're gonna say that you do 1,800, right? So whatever your number is, write that down. Figure it out, because that's so important. So now that tells me everything that I need to know. Now you have a $1,200 surplus, right? So the first thing you need to see to fix your problem is, are you in a surplus or are you in a deficit? A deficit, right? Meaning, are you negative? Or are you positive, money left over after you pay your expenses? Now, most people think if you got this problem right here, let's say 3,800. So you make 3,000 a month, but your bills is 3,800 a month. We all been there, all right? Most people think this. You gotta cut down some of these bills, your home, you know, move back in, or your car you gotta send back. And that's true. You can start slicing some of this stuff, but at some point, nobody wants to work and don't have nothing that they enjoy, right? They don't want to. That's not a fun life of living. to where you live in mediocre, and everybody say uh, live below your means and all that. I'm not saying go out and do nothing foolish, but I'm just saying, man, you get one life and you gotta enjoy it. Don't sit there penny pitching and, you know what I'm saying, just struggling for no reason and saying you don't want these stuff. Everybody like luxury. Everybody like good things. Now, if you're trying to sacrifice to get to a place, that makes sense. But most people think that they got to start cutting those things, right? They got to start cutting these things. But I figured this out. And this is what separates the investor from the average person. Because you thinking cut right here. I'm thinking I need to get more of this. I need to get more income. Because if I got, let's just say, $1,000 more. Let's say I got 4K. Now my problem goes away. I'm in a $200 surplus. You see that? So you got to figure out what's your numbers. For your income and expenses, right? You got to figure that out, right? Are you in a surplus or deficit? That starts there. Now, after you decide how much money you got, or if you're not making enough money, and you cut these to get something down to make the budget work, you still need to be thinking about getting more income, because that's going to help you. Now, if you have a surplus, I'm going to show you how you get more income. And if you don't have a surplus, fix that problem first. Get more income. Do whatever you need to do to get yourself and your family together, right? Whether that's your wife get a job, because my wife stays home and works when she wants to. You know, I know a lot of people have a 2-parent household and, you know, the wife doesn't work. So whether that's her getting a job, figure it out. You need more income. That's the key right there, right? You need to get more income. Earned income, portfolio income, passive income, some income. You need to get something going, right? Now, so once you get that done right here, the income and expense part, now you need to come down here to your balance sheet. And this is where the magic is, right? So you got assets over here. And you got liabilities over here, right? Now, this is what separates people who have wealth and people who stuck inside that race. Because if I sat down with the average person and say, what assets do you have? Well, they're going to say, I have my home. And I'm going to say, and your home is not an asset. Like, what you mean? It's on my net worth and all this stuff. Yeah, true that. But that home that you live in don't put any money in your pocket. So I'm not saying what a financial advisor would say or what's an asset and liability, because they'll list everything. They'll list the jewelry that you got around your house, the TVs. They're going to get your whole net worth. They're going to get everything. Your car, if you had to sell it, everything. When you're talking about a financial person, they're going to have you list all that and say all those are assets. And I'm telling you, that's not really how it works when you're trying to build wealth. And it's simple. Assets put money in your pocket. They put money in. Liabilities take money out your pocket, right? They take money out your pocket, you know? So that's simple. So everybody has this. Everybody has this. Let's say debt, you know, from your car loan, student loan, you know, stuff like that. But this is the trick though. What if you had good debt? Because all this right here is bad debt. And it's bad because you have to pay it back. That's the only reason why it's bad. Because you have to pay it back. Now, if you had a car, and you know, that you use to Turo or something like that, which I'm not saying do this, but I'm just giving you an example. Or if you had a house and you rented it out, right? Now it's not necessarily a liability. You still on the hook for that money, you still in debt for it, but now it comes over here to an asset. You know why? And it's good debt because somebody else is paying it off. You don't pay it off. It's great debt. You see what I mean? So let's scratch all this and let's get back to how you gonna do this, right? So look, you got to figure out how do you want to play this game and what position best suits you right now. Now, that's what somebody who's struggling financially, that's how they look. They got a bunch of liabilities and no assets. They have zero right here. That needs to change. Watch what happens when you start acquiring assets. Let's say I had an asset like real estate. Let's just say a home. And it paid me, it cash flowed, let's say $500. That gives me more income. $500. So instead of having an $1,800 surplus, just using numbers, now I got $2,300. See that? Added $500 to my income. See that? Now I take that 23 and do what? Buy more assets. So now let's say the next one is stocks, you know. And stocks is different because you can get paid off of stocks three ways. Most people think buy and hold, which is cool, but it don't really print me cash every month. I like cash flow. I like things that give me money every month. So let's just say that you had dividends, meaning that you get paid for owning shares of the stocks, and then you sell options on it every month. So now you get option money every month. So let's just say you get $600 from options. So now they gave you more income. So now you got $2,900. You see that? Every month. So now you take that 29 and you go buy you another asset. You see that? And the whole thing is this. We want as many assets as we can get because each one of those assets is going to produce an income for you. So how I stay in California and have $5,000 rent is because I don't pay it. I don't pay it, ladies and gentlemen. These assets pay it. Because remember I told you at the beginning of the video, I want to be allocated. My first thing was 50%, 50-50. Let's erase all this. We could draw it again. Just so we don't have too much stuff on here, right? Let's do this again. So, I want it to be 50% allocation. This is my money. 50% expenses, 50% invested. Now, the thing that allowed me to get to the next level and to join that 1% is that my goal is to get to this. Started with 50%. This is my goal, to get 100% invest it. Just rinse and repeat. The investments pay the expenses. With the surplus, buy more investments. So that's how you get out of it. And somebody say, well, what if I don't have money today? How do I do this? Well, let's start back with our income statement. What do you have? Are you in a surplus or are you in a deficit? You see what I'm saying? Which one are you in? Are you in a surplus or deficit? Are you up or are you down? Which one? All right, I already showed you how to fix that problem. Get more income. Yeah, if you want to do it by cutting expenses, go ahead. But once you have a surplus, stop going out and getting liabilities. Get you some assets. Get you some assets that's going to produce you more income, right? Now, where are you at? You might not be able to get more income. Let me show you a trick. Because you can, remember I told you can use these to produce more income. So let's add one more number to it. Let's add your credit score right here. CS. You might not have no money. And we're trying to figure this out. How are we going to get assets? Because assets produce cash. So we can't get more income. We cut all this. What are we going to do? We're going to have to use debt. But not any debt. We want good debt. Good. We need it good. Somebody else to pay it off. Because if we paying it, it's bad debt. Right? So we're going to turn a liability into an asset. So now what's your credit score? Do you have a 600? Okay, 600. What assets can you buy? Can you go get a home and does it cash flow? And all this stuff, I'm not saying go out and do it because in the video, in the next videos, pardon me, I'm going to show you each asset class, right? So let's do this. You got asset classes, right? And the biggest one being big business. Big business. Not, see, this is the cash flow quadrant right here, right? And this is how it works. Let's go. We're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that, right? But let me just show y'all something when I say big business. Because everybody going to say, well, I got my business, right? This is how the cash flow quadrant works. You have E, employee. Then you have small business, self-employed. Then you got investor, big business, right? The thing that you want to do is go from here, because most people start off as employee, and go to this side because the tax advantages are on this side. So yeah, you might have your own business and that's cool, you working in a business, but they're going to hit you for taxes right here. So the goal is to get to this side to where money is working for us. We're not working for money. On this side, you're working for money. On this side, we want the money to work for us. So you got employee, self-employed, small business, then you got investor, big business. The goal is to get to this side of the cash flow quadrant because this side, you're going to pay the most taxes and you still working for money. And that's not the goal. Let me get back to what I was saying. So most people like, okay, well, how do I start, right? So let's go back to our square. Income, expenses, right? Are we in a budget surplus? Are we in a budget deficit, right? Which one are we, right? Then we're going to see, can we buy some assets? So you don't have nothing. You don't have anything. You don't have no money. You cut all your expenses. You can't get no more income. It just don't work. So how about this one? Let's take your credit score and make that an asset. Okay, you got a 600. Can you get anything for 600 that's going to produce you with your 600 credit score that's going to produce you with more income? Now, These are the asset classes. You got big business, big business. Then you have real estate, real estate. Then from there, after real estate, then you got stocks, doing about market cap. Then you got commodities, which is like gold, silver, oil, stuff like that. You know, so those are the things you got. You can have a small business in here as well. But I already told you about that. So with your 600 credit score, or maybe it's 700, whatever it needs to work, you got to figure it out. What is that going to get you? Can you take that and get some good debt? And buy one of these to produce you more income? Can you do that? The thing about it is, we're not waiting to figure out. If we're going to check this one, it needs to work. The deal needs to work before we even do it. We need to see it on paper. How does it work? And during the next videos, I'm going to go through each one of these asset classes. Because like I said, I believe that you should own all these assets, right? You should be in every asset class. That way you're not subject to if this one goes bust, or this one goes bust, this one goes bust. You're not just stuck in one. You have other options because it's always cycles. It's always cycles. Right now we're in a switch from stocks going into commodities. And look at how stocks are doing versus commodities. It always happens like that late in the cycle. So back to what I was saying. Can you take your 600 credit score, get some good debt, and grab one of these assets to produce you more income? And it's good debt because somebody else is going to pay it off. So once you do that, maybe you have to keep getting more good debt. You have people who are billions of dollars in debt, but are billionaires because they understand how to use good debt, right? So yeah, figure out your situation, your income expenses, write them all down, see where you at. Are you in a surplus or deficit? And what assets do you own? I'm talking about real assets, not the home that you live in. What assets do you own? And if you can't get any more income, you already cut your expenses to where you don't live a boring life without nothing, then can you use your credit score to get you some good debt to produce you more income? And when you get really good at this, this is how it should look. And I can tell exactly what's going on with a person by looking at this sheet, if I was to write this down on them, right? So now, when you get good at this, you got all these producing income for you. They all produce income for you, right? All these produce income. Because commodities, you can borrow against them as well. If you own commodities, you can borrow against them. They even got it to where you can borrow against Bitcoin right now to get you more cash to buy more assets. You got to use what you have. So you got all these things producing you more income, paying your expenses, right? And your surplus left over, you buy more assets, right? You buy more assets. Now, this is when you get good. You're going to be able to take this good debt, and it's just going to go in the cycle. You're going to use good debt to get you more income, to pay your expenses, and then you're going to buy more assets. And it's going to keep going in the circle. And that's how you're going to produce massive wealth. So, we got to figure this out. So let's say your credit score don't work. Because everybody going to say, well, what about if I don't got a good credit score? Well, we going to figure it out. That's the whole thing. We're going to figure it out. We're We're gonna figure it out, baby. Assets, liabilities. All right. Oh, I forgot one on the last one. You got big business. Then you got real estate. Then you got bonds. My bad. Government bonds. That's my bad. Then you got stocks. Then you got commodities. All right. So now, you couldn't use your credit score. Wasn't good enough. You couldn't get anything with your credit score. It's not a 600, right? So now we got to go back up here. If we couldn't use this, now we got to go back up here. Remember I told you I wanted the 50% allocation? Well, can you slice expenses to where you can get to a 90% allocation? Because now, with the 10%, you can invest. So this is how you should start a business. You should never take your taxes or your whole paycheck and start a business or buy assets. It should all be done through allocation. Right? It should be all through allocations. Allocation. Right? Can you get to 80% expenses and have 20% left over? Meaning, if you make $300 a paycheck, you need to save $30 for 10%, or 60 for 20, whatever that number is. Meaning, if you make $30,000 for the year, you need to have $3,000 at the end of the year to invest with a 10% allocation, right? So you're gonna have to figure it out. Where can you go get the extra money from? Where can you find an opportunity to buy assets? Hope y'all enjoyed that. If you need to take a break, pause it. And if you found this helpful, like and subscribe and share this video. Thank you.